Welcome back to the FantasyPros YouTube channel. My name is Andrew Erickson, and today we're going to be breaking down 10 players with questionable upside. But first, want a chance to win a signed Tyreek Hill Miami Dolphins jersey courtesy of our friends at Pristine Auction? Subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel right now, comment below on this video, and that's it. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. So let's decide whether it's time to fade or trade these players with questionable upside. Let's dive in. Number 1, quarterback Justin Fields, Chicago Bears. The latest round quarterback you can draft with the most upside is Justin Fields. As a rookie, he finished as the QB3, QB9, QB8, and QB10 in his last 4 starts, averaging 21.7 fantasy points per game. Good for 44% QB1 hit rate, considering his 9 games played last year, same as Derek Carr. He also averaged 56 rushing yards per game over his last 6. All in all, Fields averaged 35 rushing yards per game during his rookie season. Previous 3 rookies quarterbacks to do so, Cam Newton, Josh Allen, and RG3. They all finished as top 12 fantasy quarterbacks in their second seasons, with the 2 former QBs finishing top 6. So why is the Bears QB ECR QB17? Because the supporting cast of Chicago presents a lot of risk. Not many weapons outside of 2 third-year players in Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney, and the offensive line is a mess, ranked as the number 31 unit per PFF. But even so, a bad O-line suggests Fields will be forced to continue to use his legs, making him a fantasy target at a suppressed ADP. Kyle Pitts, Atlanta Falcons tight end. The upside case for Pitts is simple. Go all in on the unicorn talent. His last season, at just 21 years old, Pitts finished 3rd among tight ends in receiving yards through 17 weeks, 3rd in route participation, and in target share through 18 weeks. He's got so much talent that nobody will be surprised to see him take a massive step forward in year 2, especially with impending positive touchdown regression. The last 2 21-year-old rookies, Justin Jefferson and Juju Smith-Schuster, averaged at least 60 receiving yards per game as rookies, which Pitts also did, reach 1,400 yards in their second season. But the major question marks as a quarterback with Falcons between Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder, along with offensive line that might struggle to pass protect, creates doubt that Pitts will meet or exceed his round 3 ADP as the tight end 3. And can we say without any hesitation that Pitts will score significantly more touchdowns in a worse offense than last season? Here's to hoping that Pitts can replicate what Mark Andrews did as the tight end 1 last year, posting elite production even with backup quarterback play for a large portion of the season. Aaron Jones, running back, Green Bay Packers. Ask anybody about what they think about Aaron Jones next year, and they will likely cite his receiving numbers without Devontae Adams in the lineup. Without Green Bay's number 1 receiver, Jones has averaged close to 4.5 catches, 6 targets, 48 receiving yards, and 23 points per game. It's hard to ignore the Packers' RB1 upside in round 2 with multiple top 5 finishes on his resume. But what's being overlooked in the Jones projection is how much of a role number 2 running back A.J. Dillon will own in the Packers' offense. Over the final 8 weeks of the 2021 season, A.J. Dillon was the RB6 overall at half-point scoring in 7 games played. Jones averaged 11.9 fantasy points per game over the same stretch, which ranked 23rd in 6 games played. And interestingly enough, the Packers running backs' current ADPs are the total opposite of how they finished last year. Jones' RB9 being drafted well ahead of Dillon, RB24 in early drafts. The ADP gap probably needs to be tighter. And there's no doubt that Dillon is a superior value at cost with his potential work at the goal line. Dillon's 32 red zone touches ranked 3rd in the NFL to close out last season. Breece Hall, running back, New York Jets. The Jets selected the Iowa State product at the top of round 2, signifying his status as the team's locked-in RB1 for the foreseeable future. Hall's 3-down skill set suggests he never has to come off the field, and the sheer volume he garners will vault him into the redraft top 20 RB territory. He totaled over 4,000 yards from scrimmage, 50 touchdowns, and 80 catches in college ranks over the last 3 seasons. A workload of approximately 240 touches, based on how many touches the Jets' RB1 earned last year, would place Hall inside the top 15, considering every running back that season last year hit that threshold, finished inside that ranking. Michael Carter had his moments as a rookie, but the Jets know he's just a number 2 running back. Anticipate Hall to shoulder 15 to 20 touches per game based on the workload that Carter received last year when Tevin Coleman missed time. The obvious concerns are the Jets' offense continues to struggle with Zach Wilson at the helm, but I'd be more optimistic that Hall can still thrive based on the volume he should see in year 1. Keep in mind that Coleman and Carter finished top 6 in PFF rushing grade over the last 8 weeks of the fantasy football season. If 2 inferior running backs were able to be efficient in a worse offensive situation last season, then Hall should easily meet or exceed expectations, running behind PFF's 13th ranked offensive line heading into 2022. Javonte Williams, Denver Broncos. We all saw the upside Javonte Williams can offer last year when he hung 27 fantasy points without Melvin Gordon in the lineup against the Chiefs. The stage was set for juggernaut Javonte to be a first-round lock, but the Broncos re-signed MG3 in free agency, ultimately halting the certainty of the second-year breakout. Because Gordon showed no signs of ceding the number one RB role to Williams last season, ranking 8th in both PFF rushing grade and forced missed tackles while compiling 231 touches, which ranked 16th in the league. He's going to split work with another capable back in Gordon, which is precisely what new head coach Nathaniel Hackett desires. The team has no plans to abandon the two-back rotation even after changing coaches. Williams said that the way that they operated last year, an essential 50 split, would be the plan of attack in 2022, and Gordon claims he won't lay down to Williams for RB1 supremacy. Many Javonte fans will harp on the touchdown upside of Williams playing in a better situation than last season, but the red zone role between the two backs was nearly split in 2021 with a slight lean towards the vet. If the Broncos offense presents more scoring opportunities, it doesn't necessarily greenlight all those high-value touches for Williams. Simply put, the wide margin ADP between Williams at RB13 and Gordon at RB34 needs to be closer. All things considered, I'd wait to draft Gordon several rounds after Williams to get a cheap piece of the Broncos' backfield. Kadarius Toney, wide receiver, New York Giants. Toney flashed future target magnet potential after posting 2.14 yards per route run 11th and commanding a 25% target rate per route run in 2021, tied for 7th best in the NFL last year. His 92nd percentile PFF receiving grade versus single coverage suggests that Toney can win wherever he lines up. But there's no denying that Toney's flashes of brilliant play came in short supply last year, and the Giants' offense might still be below average, even with upgrades across the offensive line and coaching personnel with Daniel Jones under center. Even so, that's factored into Toney's wide receiver 43 ADP, making him worth the risk. Wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, San Francisco 49ers. Weeks 1 through 7, Brandon Ayuk was a dud in fantasy football. He ranked 98th in yards per route run, but he turned things around in the second half of the season, finishing the year 13th in yards per route run with the same target rate per route run as Deebo Samuel. The former first-round pick also ranked 6th in yards after the catch per reception. If Ayuk can roll over his second half production into 2022, he could be a smashing fantasy value in a similar way that his teammate Samuel was viewed in 2021. His overall disappointing sophomore campaign should not overshadow his electric rookie season. Be warned that a run-heavy offensive philosophy led by a mobile quarterback figures to suppress pass attempts in the 49ers offense, casting uncertainty about what Ayuk's consistency will look like, especially if Samuel and George Kittle remain healthy. Luckily, it's factored into his wide receiver 41 ADP. Wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, Kansas City Chiefs. Smith-Schuster is just 1 year removed from a wide receiver 17 finish in PPR, top 10 in wide receiver 2 finisher rate, between 2 injury-plagued seasons. He also has a 1,400 receiving yard season on his resume, with Patrick Mahomes as his new quarterback to boot. So of course, he's got upside in a high-powered Chiefs offense that is looking for guys to step up in the absence of Tyreek Hill. And Smith-Schuster has easily the most decorated pedigree in youth on his side at just 25 years old. But Smith-Schuster also has been a beta receiver his entire career, meaning he's never been the guy in his offense, even in his best days with the Steelers. Just keep that in mind before going too aggressively on Smith-Schuster. His real-life number 2 and low average depth of target receiver profile means he's destined for fantasy wide receiver 2 status at best, assuming he can recapture his playmaking ability from early in his career. The fact that he was outproduced by Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson the last time he was healthy should raise concerns that he won't immediately be a target hog and rise to fantasy wide receiver 1 status in Kansas City. He falls in the can be good but not great category of fantasy wide receivers. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle, Miami Dolphins. Jalen Waddle looked primed to leap into the top 12 conversation after a stellar rookie season. Along with breaking Anquan Bolden's rookie reception record, Waddle commanded a 22% target share and 24% target rate per route run, 18th best in the NFL. But with the expensive addition of veteran Tyreek Hill, it's less likely that Waddle is the clear-cut number 1 receiver in Miami. However, it works out in Waddle's favor that he and Tua Tagovailoa already have built-in rapport. Waddle posted 9 top 24 PPR finishes last year, 8th best at the position, and more than Hill did in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback. And through the second half of last year, their cumulative numbers were nearly identical across the board, except for efficiency marks and fantasy points per game, where Waddle was superior, averaging 14.8 half points per game versus Hill's 12.7. My ranking of Waddle at wide receiver 14 versus Hill at wide receiver 15 is vastly different from ADP, where Hill is wide receiver 8 and Waddle is wide receiver 17. But with the most likely outcome being a 1A, 1B split between an ascending talent versus an older veteran in a new home, I'll take the youth with a draft day discount. Waddle has already proven he can produce with Tagovailoa, whereas Hill's numbers likely won't improve with an obvious downgrade at quarterback. Last but not least, running back Devin Singletary, Buffalo Bills. Singletary was unleashed down the stretch for the Bills, finishing as the RB3 PPR, scoring over the final 6 weeks of the season with 17 fantasy points per game. He ranked first in the NFL in routes run and third in the NFL in red zone touches around running backs, more than double that of quarterback Josh Allen. With a proven track record and 2 years of bell cow usage in spurts, don't be surprised when PFF's fourth highest ranked running back in rushes of 15 plus yards and seventh ranked player in forced missed tackles in 2021 emerges from a high octane ambiguous backfield. Because the only thing holding him back from skyrocketing up draft boards is the projected lack of work as a receiver with the addition of rookie running back James Cook. Cook will have a role, no doubt, but everything out of Bills camp suggests it's still Singletary's backfield after his strong 2021 finish. And that ties a bow on the questionable player upside list for the upcoming 2022 fantasy football season. If you enjoyed the list, please give it a like, subscribe, and share with all of your non-league mate friends. Enjoy the day, and good luck to everyone in fantasy football this season.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at FantasyPros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.